Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Justine Podcast. Today, I'm kind of gonna switch gears a little bit. Well, I'm always switching gears, run. But today I'm gonna be talking about, as you've seen from the title, cultural ag and being ahead of your time. Uh, that's a misconception that I personally feel, and I'm just, giving my own perspective on it because I feel like it's bullshit. Like, I feel like when we hear shit like, "Oh, being ahead of your time is such a good thing," I feel like it makes motherfuckers feel like they set apart for some shit or from some shit, right? And I don't mean just from the perspective of the person who's ahead of their time, but the person who's witnessing somebody who's quote unquote ahead of their time, you know? And I don't know, it just makes motherfuckers like, I feel like kind of lazy and kind of stagnant. And that's why, excuse me, that's why I refer to it as the culture lag, because those two things go hand in hand, in my opinion. Like, just from my own perspective of looking at myself, I've been told I was ahead of my time for a lot of my life. I never felt like I was ahead of my time. I just felt like y'all motherfuckers are slow and can't keep up. Not slow in the sense of mentally retarded no shit like that, but I mean in the sense of there's a delay in which it takes a lot to for a motherfucker to catch up. And this kind of segues and comes off of the episode where I was just talking about from So Fair Conversations on overthinking and analyzing, and how, I mentioned the point about thought and recollection, about how, the two different dynamics of, thinking, quote unquote. I'm not going to repeat that here, but you can go back and check that out. But it ties into that. There's a lot of people who, the reason why a lot of people can feel ahead of their time is because their perspective is different. So like when we got a culture lag, it's motherfuckers who are stuck in their motherfucking ways that even when you're showing them that the gap is closing, it's like, or the gap is widening. Let me say that. Even when you show them that the gap is widening, they can't see it. They can't fathom it. They can't look at it from the full perspective of, you know what? I think that this person should X, Y, and Z, or I think that I should, touch this up about myself. Completely oblivious to the shit. Don't even, try to do it. But when you're in a culture lag, it's largely tied to those who want to remain in quote unquote the matrix, or follow the systems that are already in place, and those who want to break free from it. Those who want to be the sheep, those who want to be the shepherd. The black sheep motherfuckers, they're the people who are, oh, that person's ahead of their time, they're this, that, and the third. It's like, nah, they're right on time for what their purpose is for life, and they chose to accept that and they move according to that. You feel what I'm saying? But those who are stuck in the culture lag don't do that. You feel what I'm saying? And, I got it's always about us and my people and shit. And this is one of the reasons why I have a huge issue with, laziness. And, what I mean, I look at it from a perspective of, I tie it to the culture lab because it's like a lot of people often don't want to push themselves to be quote unquote the best version of themselves, or to break the stigma of what they are. It's like, these are the way things are. And as black people, we have a major culture lag in so many different regards that it's like, certain systems are in place, or, to promote racism. But I think racism, the system of racism is a lot deeper than just hating, black people as well. It's impeding black people so much so that our culture lag is crazy. You feel me? Our culture lag is crazy. Like, we get so set in our ways as a culture because, and this isn't all of us, it's a collective, but a lot of us need permission from, we feel like we need permission from whoever to decide, okay, push the culture forward or do something different, do something dynamic. You feel what I'm saying? So we wait for shit to happen and then be a part of it. Like, it's not many, we don't have many originators anymore. And originators that we do have, they get co-opted and shit like that. So it's like, how do we bridge the gap between those who are stuck in a culture lag and those who are caught supposedly ahead of their time? You feel me? And that's what I feel like I want to talk about today, because I feel like it's an important thing, because there's a major disconnect between generations and shit these days. But it's not even just a disconnect, it's a culture lag. That makes it a lot worse. They're like, the young generation, and that's where a lot of the problem comes in, because they're like, the younger generation don't listen to the older generation. The older generation doesn't have anything for the younger generation to teach. I mean, to be taught. And that's where the culture lag is. We don't like, I have a lot of my elders who say, say shit to me like, you know, you can't be, you don't, you know what? Because I don't want to dive heavy into it. I'm going to save that for the break. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at underscore just underscore scene underscore. Be sure to check out my website at iamjustseen.com to get all things that are just seen. To all those who tip donate sponsor to the podcast, you are greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. To all those who would like to tip donate sponsor to the podcast, you can do so by clicking the link in the description of your podcast. Not this episode, but the podcast itself. Cash App and PayPal are just fine. So as always, that's that for this, and that's this for that. So when we're going to take a break, when we come back, we're going to dive into culture lag ahead of your time. And don't forget to visit iamjustseen.com. There, you can get all things Just Seen. You want to add the So For Real series to your library? Visit iamjustseen.com. You want to learn how to master the markets for serious trading and investing? Visit iamjustseen.com. You want to get your hands on some exclusive merch like tees, hoodies, coffee mugs, hats, bags? Visit iamjustseen.com. Are you thinking about transitioning into the plant-based lifestyle? Visit iamjustseen.com. You ever want to just chat with Scene about anything from simple advice to mentorship? Visit iamjustseen.com. Anything and everything that is me, you can find at iamjustseen.com. So take a quick peek into my world to see why being just seen is nothing less but always more. Because you never really know what you need until you see it, and you will never see it unless you visit iamjustseen.com. All right. Welcome back. And without further ado, we're just gonna go ahead and get straight into it. So piggybacking off what I was saying, I have, elders or whatever who say shit to me like, you don't know everything. And I know that I don't know everything. They're telling me some shit that I understand about myself. Like, I'm like, I get that. But it's like, because you're perceiving that, you have not realized how far ahead of the culture I am with the shit that you're talking about. And when there's that disconnect, the culture lag also happens because there's no respect between the elders and the youth. We have completely obliterated that shit. That like to the core of where we are, we have the youth does not respect the elders do not respect the youth. And this is not a, you know, uh case by case thing. This is a collective thing. I get it. Oh, I respect my elders. Oh, I respect the youth. No, 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 no. On the collective, we wouldn't be in this much disharmony if it was the case. The elders do not fuck with the youth because they say, "Oh, okay." The reason why, and this is one of the reasons why, like, I feel like religion has a heavy hold on that shit because when the culture lag hits, and the problem with the culture lag is that the elders aren't willing to keep up. You feel me? Aren't willing to keep up, but the youth have to keep that energy and keep going. So, and in addition to that, the elders don't really have any wisdom to bestow. So nobody's gonna listen to this shit. So it's like if you come from poverty and you still in poverty, it's like, yo, I can't take financial advice from you on how to get out of poverty. You never got the fuck out. Like you never got the fuck out. And that's a part of the culture lab because I feel personally like it's a moment in time where people look at it, people look at their circumstances and their surroundings and they decide to make a choice. That choice is either to stay or go forward. And when it's the culture lag, a lot of people choose to stay because it's easy, it's more complacent, but it makes it hard to see certain things. So when we tie that into those who are ahead of their time, these are people who's like, yo, you know this, you know that. It's like you're just like, I've learned that it's not that a motherfucker's ahead of their time. They're in line with the time they're supposed to be in. They're doing what they're supposed to do, and they're responding to a culture lag. They're responding to a culture lag. We're in such a space where the culture lag is real that everybody wants to remain in the past. Like it really hit heavy. I don't want to get flagged for this shit again. Hopefully they don't catch this word. But with the Rona situation and shit, there was a major, major, major culture lag. And that was one of the things that people could not fathom. It's like in 2 years, in 2 years, in 2 years, job security was threatened. Like I don't like motherfuckers. Look, Pete, right? In 2 years, motherfuckers gave you what? It had to be like 3,600 or something like that, like three stimmies or some shit like that. And the culture lag, the people caught in the culture lag was like, yo, I have to wait for the government to assist me during this hard time. That's culture lag. Those are who are bound to the culture lag. Then you have the other side is like, nigga, this ain't sustainable. I got to secure a bag. I got to go get more bags. I've seen a boom in entrepreneurship in you know what I'm saying, amongst the people. And then I also seen a decline in common fucking sense. And it's due to culture lag. So how the Rona played itself out is like with the culture lag separation. This was one of the reasons why I was like, yo, you have one side of people telling people, look, don't take this shit, don't succumb to this shit, like keep your immune system right. And it's like everybody, but then the culture lag is like, no, they're right. They wouldn't do that. I'm gonna tie it into this because it affected us the most. When it looked at the culture lag, it's like the mind was so drawn back to a distant past that a lot of people initially thought about to seek the Tuskegee experiment, right? This shows how far the culture lag really is because they did the same thing. They just did it to everybody and not just black people this time. You feel what I'm saying? So it's like for that to have merit, you know what I mean? And them to be in denial and say they won't do it again. You feel me? That's the mentality and the separation between culture lag and those who are quote unquote ahead of the time. You feel me? Culture lag people saying, oh, well, they've done it before. They're not going to do it again. They wouldn't be that sinister. It's like, all right, whatever. Then you have the other time people was like, yo, they already did it once. I don't need to see it again. You feel me? And on a grander scale, that's where a lot of this derives from. Culture lag is, I feel, is heavily rooted in, I'm gonna say in religious beliefs and religiosity for one, because that's the greatest culture lag you could ever think of. Like, I don't have an issue with religion. I don't. I mean, I do. I do. I don't. But I don't. Okay, I have an issue with religion. I don't have an issue with people practicing religion because that's your prerogative. That's your choice. But imagine, like, imagine the culture lag you have to be in to still follow something that is said to allegedly happen 2,000 years ago. We're basing real life situations and making decisions off of our current position based off of some shit that happened or is said to have happened 2 to 3,000 years ago. If that's not a culture lag, I don't know what is. You feel what I'm saying? And this is not on a perspective of saying, hey, put the shit down and leave it alone because it's so outdated or whatever the case may be, because you can learn from anything. And that's the thing that's what fucks people up because they're like, when I tell people that religion derived into, allegory, no, mythology, ritual, and allegory, right? The three levels of what a religion is. People know that it's allegory, but they can't accept that it's allegory yet because they think that it's real, right? And here's what I mean by that. People will tell you, you have to keep reading it because you get, and this is about reaffirming belief, but you have to keep reading it because you get something new every time you check it out. If this was a historical document, if this was truly a historical piece, there's nothing new that you can get out of this information. However, what you get new to different perspectives derives from the allegory. I try to tell people that. But they lock in for the mythological part of it. And they make that aspect the full dynamic and the full reality of where the culture lags. So it's like when you think about certain shit doesn't apply now that applied then. There's no way it can possibly be right. And it's not to say that, the information and content in the books are wrong, because whatever it is, but it's like that promotes a culture lag. And we're in a space and they're watching the younger generation, they're watching the generation, how are they moving this way or while like, and they're moving at a rapid rate because they don't suffer from culture lag. I feel like black people are because we are the most devout, not only the most devout, like we have a natural connection to the spirit realm and we have the highest propensity for spirituality. However, we were never tapped into our own spirituality. Spirituality is your individual connection with the source. You feel me? Not your enslavement, not your detriment. It is your individual balanced connection with the source. God, Allah, Jehovah, Krishna, Buddha, whatever. However, when there is no updating to what you're like, I get it. I get the structure in which it was. Like they made it so it's like Never add anything, never take anything away, because this promotes a culture lag. This makes this culture stay in this pocket of time. Imagine 2,000 years have passed. You feel me? Motherfuckers don't even wear the same shit, but motherfuckers don't even think the same. Motherfuckers develop a lot faster, but we still following ideologies, and we wonder why we can't get farther than where we are right now, because shit's not making sense. Shit's not, you know, catching up to the time. And shit'll never catch up to the time as long as we have the culture lag. Now, the reason why I mentioned religion was because now I can segue into history too, because two of the biggest things that they do that we do is focus on recollection. That's why I talk about the education system. The culture lag is designed for that, right? The culture lag is designed like it's a form of creation. The only people that will be successful in the culture lag is those ahead of their time. Why? Because you become a person who inevitably becomes a creator, becomes an originator, becomes somebody that people have to buy into. You dig what I'm saying? The pioneers or whatever the case may be. There's shit that, like, when you know there's a culture. Case in point, So Frail is established off of the separation between ahead of my time, being ahead of my time in a culture lag. You feel what I'm saying? There's been a whole culture lag on what masculinity really is. And this goes back far beyond like certain shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's a whole culture lag in the conceptualization of masculinity. So the shit that I'm talking about now cannot be caught up until the lagging culture catches up to where we are right now, which by the time they do that, I will be in those of us who have, those of us who have read So Frail and those who are in that space will be exceedingly far beyond this shit. You feel me? I was talking to my bro Pat, and we was talking about he was like, bro, damn near everything you called out as far as like, the Rona and the DNA shit and all that. He's like, yo, it's like he said, yo, it was like you was calling shots in pool, bro. He was like, it's like, and in him expressing that to me, it was like, it's culture lag. I don't lag it. I'm not a part of the lagging culture. I'm a part of the leading culture. That's what I should change the name to. But fuck it. I'm not a part of the lagging culture. I'm a part of the leading culture, right? Which is those who are quote unquote ahead of their time. So it's like, yo, how did you see that coming? How did you not? Like, that's one of the differences. And I think this is one of the barriers that we have to get through, because we be talking about shit with people and we don't be talking about shit with people because the lagging culture is so, like, the cultures lag so much that we're like, damn. So much so, like, look at, don't get me wrong. They made good music in the 90s, right? They made good music in the 90s. However, a lot of us want to relive the 90s era because we like, yo, the 90s was such a point of blah, blah, blah. And it's like technology was booming. A part of the lagging culture is like we accept the fact we got iPhones and shit. We ain't got the big flip phones. Like, we love the fact that we're here, but we're mentally and sometimes even spiritually, we lag so much in a culture that it's hard to adjust to what we have right here. You feel me? I know people who, would get, and this happens a lot with the elders. They do this thing where they say shit like, yeah, I've been where you were before. I did it. But that's the part of the lagging culture. The For that to have merit and what you've been through in your time when you were my age is not the same as what I'm going through right now. Because what I'm going through right now was a product of the shit that you were supposed to make or break in the time frame that you didn't. So the fact that we're experiencing the same thing at the same age, X amount of years later, a generation later, shows that there's a major culture lag. You feel me? I talk about all the time how when I had conversations with old heads when I was talking about, so that they're showing me twerk videos. Again, there's nothing wrong with watching a woman shake ass. But at 50 years old, you're talking to a 27-year-old, because that's how old it was at the time. You're showing, like, where's the culture? That's a major culture lag to know that we're in the same pocket of time. The elders don't want to age. They want to quote unquote stay young forever, act like children. And that keeps the culture lag going. We have a conceptualization as boys will be boys. Now, I don't know if y'all paying attention to this shit, but with all of the new shit that's going on about feminism and all of the shit, women are starting to develop into that girls will be girls phase. Y'all motherfuckers is wilding. Y'all motherfuckers is wilding. And y'all are starting to act like men, and men ain't, I ain't gonna say men. Y'all are starting to act like boys. You feel me? Y'all are starting to act like boys, and it's losing its efficacy as the human population goes. But nah, that ass though, it's like that culture lag is some heavy shit. And it makes it so that people look at life as, oh my gosh, you're so smart. I'm no, I'm not anything that anybody else can't be. I just choose to be a part of the leading culture, not the lagging culture. And that's a whole disconnect. Like you be talking about a motherfucker, like, you feel me? Like when I like this helps me a lot, but I guess it hurts me in the understanding of knowing that I'm in the leading and the lagging culture. It's like I have moved so far into the leading culture that it's like I can't tolerate certain shit if you lagging too far. Like I'm like, there's no like you had the opportunities, you had the moments to catch up to where I'm at. Like I only had tolerance for children, yo. I only have patience for children when it's time, like for the most part, when it comes to the culture. I don't have time for everybody else like that because it's like, yo, you're a part of the lagging culture. Like think about that. They always say, and this is what this is really, in my opinion, what makes crabs in a barrel so heavy. It ties to lagging culture. This is why nobody wants to get out. You feel me? It's like, no, we need somebody to see, we need to see what the next 10 years are going to be about. But we can't see that until the next 10 years are up. You feel me? That's why I was like, I tell people like hindsight is 2020, but foresight is 2020 as well. If you know how to see, you feel me? You shouldn't always have to just see in the past. You should be able to see into the future too, because the future is a dictated thing. It's created. Talked about some ways to actually do that, you know. But for the most part, and in the grand scheme of it all, that's what it all is, a lagging culture. Because right now, chances are, if you listen to this podcast, you've been one of those people to, oh, yo, you're ahead of your time, you're wise beyond your years, or whatever the case may be. And you never felt that special. Not on no disrespectful shit. Like you just felt like, no, this is what it's supposed to be like. Like, I don't know why y'all so delayed, but you feel me? It's a culture lag. It's a culture lag. And the point that I was gonna mention about religion is like, okay, whether we got the religions in slavery or whatever the case may be, we had them before. The fact of the matter is, we're still deciding to follow shit. That's a lagging culture. That world does not exist anymore. But we are keeping that world. Imagine keeping a world alive that doesn't exist anymore and it stays in your head. Therefore, you can't produce any, like, it's hard to make any changes in the situation. Like, for example, when the Rona shit first started, I love my family to life. But I got sometimes that culture lab be hitting the religious ones a little too hard. And I be like, yo, you can't be that stupid. But it's not about them being stupid, but the culture lag is that fucking real to where they were talking, they went from, we were having a conversation about, Rona shit. Oh, yeah, because, we protected by Psalms 91 and shit like that. I was like, you serious? That's what you banking this shit on? Okay. Yep. Psalm 91 said we protected, we good. It will not cross the threshold of my house, whatever the case may be. I said, like, all right, do your thing. Do your thing. There's a lot of people, a lot of religious people that I know that have taken that mentality. That is a culture lag. That is a culture lag. You feel me? 2,000 years ago, when that shit was written, yeah, there was no COVID. There was no Rona. There was nothing, like, they didn't have that to talk about. They didn't have that affecting them. They didn't have broken down immune systems. They were able to eat kosher food. They was like, you want the, this is what I'm talking about, a culture that you pick pieces of that culture that made it viable, but you don't look at none of the shit that made it fall, that made it come down, that broke it down and shit. Like a lot of these cultures that we, have lagged on to so much, they don't exist anymore. Every culture that is templated off of the religion that we follow doesn't exist anymore. Those worlds don't exist. But imagine how deep we're pulled into a culture lag because of that. And like I said, this is not just tied to religion, but religion is a staple because that controls your spirituality. Now, when you go into your mental space, look at your school system. That's what I was talking about. When they tell us to think outside the box, they're telling us to recall on information, not to think forward. That's what keeps us in a lagging culture. You feel me? That's what keeps us in the lagging culture. I know so many motherfuckers who was on some shit like, when I remember one time I was in a barbershop when I was in undergrad, and this one dude like, I'm a history buff. Bitch, what that mean? That's not a good that's really not a good thing. There's nothing tangible that you can get outside of giving history other than, okay, I want my people to like give history that had not been shown before. But nah, they're a history buff for American history. Like they was talking about George Washington having wooden teeth and shit and like little basic shit. And it's like, they felt proud about it. I'm not mad at them, but it's like, that's where you stuck at. And there's a direct correlation between those people. And it's like the culture, like, yo, we started as slaves. We came from slaves. Nigga, no. Nigga, no. But it's a culture lag. And we lag. And here's one of the mind fucks that makes our culture lag so much is because slavery was a very, very impactful piece of our history. It's a very, very impactful piece of our history. And it's so impactful that it set a tone that everything after slavery is an accomplishment for us. So we don't even know that we're lagging. Conceptually, we don't know that we're lagging. And this is what I'm talking like, yo, we were slaves. Like if you start from slavery, everything is an accomplishment. So imagine how much your culture can lag when you went from not being able to read and write. Oh, I can get my high school diploma. I'm good. What? No, no, because that's where the culture lag is established by mm, culture lag is established by the depths of the understanding of your history. Not the history being taught to you, but your actual history. The whole lineage, the whole like this is why I liken it to the bow and arrow. The farther you can pull a bow and arrow back, the further it can go. The issue with us is, and the issue with the culture lag is we pull the bow and arrow back and never let it go. We just keep pulling it back and finding other ways to keep pulling it back more and more and more. So when the culture catches up to where it's supposed to be, it's completely off. And I know people looking at like, why does it always have to? Because religion is a heavy staple and a heavy hold on my people. You feel me? I want everybody to understand it the way they're supposed to so they can finally make the choice. But a lot of people don't know how to make the choice. They never made the choice of what they wanted. But that keeps the culture lag. You don't believe me that there's a culture lag between the religious reality and the reality here? Like they call it the secular world and shit like that. Look at gospel music. This is one of the reasons why they hated Kirk Franklin. Kirk Franklin was the only person who says, no, I'm not dealing with this culture lag. He set the tone that Fred Hammond followed, the Clark sister. Well, I got to take the Clark sisters out because they did have culture lag in that shit too. And I'm going to talk about their culture lag too. So it's like the music and everything is like Kirk Franklin was the only one that made music that was relevant, right? The culture lag is so much so that people, when they finally catch wind to what's trendy, it's not even trending anymore. It's like 5 or 6 years out. I remember I was in undergrad and I think Karen Clark had a song called Prayed Up. Yeah, I think that's what it was. But the beat was like, okay, it was like, so my mama was listening to it. She said, this is a nice, you know what I'm saying? She was like, the music is good. I was like, that's an old beat. Not like that's an old style of music. That's like, you feel me? That was like mid 90s, like mid 90s, early 2000s for that beat. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's a culture lag. You feel me? I grew up in a church that was fortunate enough, and this is one of the things that like it hit me so much. I was able to move forward with my own mentality and shit. But I grew up in a culture that stayed relevant. They stayed in the moment in which they were, teaching the information, but everybody else's culture lag shit. And they pick and choose when they're gonna culture lag. So I was like, so now when I say it starts on your spiritual system, now when you break it down to your mind, now you look at the education system, it's built off of a culture lag too. This is why the whole theme of it is to dwell on memory. It is not to dwell on actual thought. It makes the culture lag. You make the culture lag. So it's like, don't catch up. None of these opportunities you can you feel me? Think about how many people today don't know how to use any of the technology that they have. You feel me? This goes back into people saying, yo, I've been there before. I know what you know. I've lived like, yo, but yet you're 20, 30 years older than me. Ask me how to fucking save a picture in a message from your phone. You see what I'm saying? Culture lag is powerful because it's like, in addition to it already being a thing, it's like people can pick and choose when they want to and say, "Oh, because I'm just not smart with this shit. I'm just." Why? You made a conscious choice not to be. You made a conscious choice not to adapt. When people are stuck in a culture lag, they can't adapt correctly. You feel what I'm saying? They cannot adapt to how they're supposed to adapt and structure into the world they're supposed to structure in. So they stay there. You feel what I'm saying? So yeah, religion is one way there's a culture lag. Now that culture lag is a lot bigger because, like I said, it's about 2,000 years. Like motherfuckers really follow the shit. Like, and I be trying to tell motherfuckers, y'all know y'all really don't want to follow the shit for real, for real. Y'all, that culture lag is hell. But because like you can't in one point, this is gonna be an extreme, but y'all know how I do it, drives points home. You can at one point be against pedophilia, be against homosexuality, be against all of these things, and then follow a doctrine that kind of allowed those things to happen. You feel me? And I get it. There's one of the craziest mind fucks ever. People be like, oh no, the Bible's against homosexuality. Is you're gonna go to hell, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, whatever. What about the other 10 commandments? But like the whole structure is on some shit that makes motherfuckers stuck. You feel me? For example, I use King David as an example because no, it wasn't King David. I use him as the second example. It was Israel. And this is why I'm gonna use Israel, because Israel and Isaac and Ishmael, they were brothers. Isaac ultimately led to the Israelites and Christianity. Ishmael ultimately led to the Quran, and so Quran and like they're cousins. They have a same divergence point. They're both sons of at the end of the day, when it goes back, they're both sons of Abraham. Then there's the divergence between them, Isaac and Ishmael. Isaac is the Bible, and I'm saying, Judaism and Christianity and shit. And Muslim is Ishmael is Islam and the Quran and all of that shit, right? But the culture lag ties into that because when we look at how the pedophilia worked, Isaac was Isaac was so pervert. Like when we look at, who was it? He married Leah and Rachel, right? He married Leah and Rachel. Rachel, and I'm gonna tell the story why I'm saying this. Like Rachel was who he wanted, right? He said when he seen Rachel, she was the most beautiful woman he'd ever seen, and he knew then he wanted to marry her. At that time, to marry meant to fuck. Like consummating a marriage meant to have sex. He said he wanted to marry her, whatever the case may be. And he said he's gonna, and as the story goes, it's like he's gonna sit by the well and wait for her to come. He's like, the first woman that comes, that's how, it's supposed to be divine intervention. Like God said that's gonna be your wife. That's gonna be who's supposed to, you know what I'm saying? So when she came to fill the water at the well or whatever the case, no, that's different. No, she was in the fields, and he was like the first person to come along, and it was Rachel that happened to come. She was like getting the fields ready and shit. So it's like David was posted up. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this because I hear so many people say, "Yeah, girl, if that man he ain't sitting by the well waiting for you or whatever the case may be, blah blah blah." So now this is where the culture lags because Rachel was 12 years old, Isaac was 40. No, Israel was like 40 years old. That's what it is. Isaac and Ishmael are the divergences. Isaac ultimately led to a son who was Jacob. Jacob became Israel. Israel is Rachel. Leah and Rachel was developed off of that. So yeah, I was a little bit off in that, rusting the story. But the purpose is that Rachel was 12 years old, right? But it's like, yo, seeing how you know? Because the culture at the time, the girls worked in the field. The girls who were in that prepubescent age, they were the ones who tended the field and collected the water, collected the grains. Historically, that's what it was. The confirmation was Jethro, which is Rachel's and Leah's father. When uh when Jacob went to him, he was like, yo, I want him. He said he could not tell him no because, he was told that, yo, God told me that this is my wife. Like, think about that shit. God tells you that a 12-year-old is your wife. So dude is like, I can't deny it, but you have to marry my 19-year-old daughter first. And he said, okay, no biggie. I'll marry her and then I still work. He told him work 7 years and then you can have her. He made this man have to work 7 years in order for his daughter to be quote unquote legal, which is the 18-year-old age now. You feel me? 7 plus 12 plus 7 is 19 years. So now Rachel is 19 when he's actually able to marry her. But he kept aging too. He kept getting older too. He was already 40. So let's say he's 47 now. 47 marrying a 19-year-old. But he said, you know what? You got to marry Leah first. Because Leah was 19 at the time when Rachel was 12. So now Leah is 26. Now it's like, okay, at least take my older one. She hasn't been. He's like, all right, cool. I'm going to get her and work another 14, another 7 for her. So he ended up working 14 years to have a 12-year-old. Granted, I get it. She's 28 at this point. No, 26. Yeah. So she's 26 at this point. You feel me? And they make it seem like such a good thing. Oh, he worked 14 years for a 12-year-old. He worked 14 years to be married to a 12-year-old. He never lost interest in her. She was never less appealing to him as she developed and got older. He liked the child. And you got to remember, he was 54 at the time when he found. So it's like, that's the culture lag. Because now when we look at today's time, this is the same shit that goes on. But now motherfuckers want to look at it like it's crazy. It's like, oh, pedophilia is wrong. You can't, and they'll tell you, oh, that's just what they did back then. I hate hearing that shit. I hate that being the justification. This is the difference between a culture lag and a culture lead. I hate that being the justification as to why it was okay then and it's not okay now. I hate that being the justification as to why you still choose to follow it. And I'm not gonna say choose to follow it as in you had to get up, but I mean choose to follow something that you know creates a reality that you don't even agree with. But then now we look into the point of this is why there's not an all or nothing thing. This is why people can take some of the things of it and leave some of the things out and say, I fuck with this, I don't fuck with that. But you can't. That's the problem with the shit. You can't conditionally fuck with this shit. Like that's what the words tell you. You have to be all in. And all of these religions do this. They promote pedophilia, they promote misogyny. They're like, this is why I be asking women. Like, I get the dudes. I get dudes. Because it promotes misogyny and patriarchy and shit. So I get us why we can, we can have a leg up on this shit as long as we're a religious man. A religious man can always have a woman. You feel me? You feel me? But when I look at women, it's like, yo, y'all know this shit don't fuck with y'all at all. Like in any way, shape, or form. And now we're in the age of the culture lag being separate right now. Culture lag and culture lead. Some women are transitioning. Some women don't like. Most of the people that we are right now that are into spirituality and all that shit who have put religion down, there's a separation between the culture lag and the culture lead. It's like the culture has lagged so long. It's like this is not benefiting us anymore. Like I get the convening and the convening and the actual connection that we may or may not have with our deity and our source or whatever the case may be, but it's like, does it really benefit us? Does it really benefit us? Black people don't stop dying in the streets. The wealth gap is still increasing. All of these, like, there's certain that, like, you feel me? There's certain shit that keeps happening and it doesn't change. It doesn't change. It's like you just like, and that's the thing. As the culture lag widens, the faith and stuff in it is like not the understanding of the information. Nobody understands the information. They just have faith in it. You know how detrimental that is? Because when you got 4 levels of the mind, belief, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, belief is initiated by either faith or fear. Faith and fear are opposite sides of the same coin. Faith is simply just walking towards something you have no information about or you don't understand, and fear is avoiding something you do not understand. Right? Imagine how easy it is to make a culture lag when it's like, I don't want y'all to study this shit. Just believe in it. Don't understand it because when you reach that level of understanding, you start to close gaps in the culture. You feel me? That's what it's supposed to be about, closing gaps in the culture. You feel me? There's a major culture lag within us as Black people that we have to address. And it goes from mental, it goes from spiritual, mental, and physical. The physical is the last deficit because now when you have a culture lag telling you that overweight people are healthy, that's a mind fuck. I grew up as a kid listening to motherfuckers say, oh, that's a healthy kid. And the motherfucker be fat and overweight. You know how you program into your subconscious mind that this motherfucker's healthy because they're eating more? Like, no. This is not to say by proxy that somebody who is skinny is automatically healthy too. No, I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to imply that. But what I'm saying is we have so many things in our culture that cause us to lag. And it's like Yo, come on, bro. Change this shit. Change this shit. This shit is problematic. So then the motherfucker who sees the problem and addresses it, and it's like, oh nah, you can't do that. And it's like people who are stuck in a culture lag will fight you tooth and nail to avoid being moved into a culture lead. You feel me? You don't really be ahead of your time. You just be in a time where the culture lags. Cause you're like, nigga, all of this shit is happening right now. Like when I looked at in 2015, when I kind of got wind of, okay, the world's going digital, brick and mortar's going to stores. I was telling people this. Motherfuckers thought I was crazy. I understand now, like certain shit, I don't try to explain anymore because I understand culture lags now. I used to get frustrated with like, yo, why can't y'all get it? Nigga, it's right here in your face. Two different people. Two different people. A culture leader and a culture lagger would never be one and one. And it's like you'll be talking about the same thing, but not talking about the same thing. It'd be like, bro, how you can't get it? You feel me? Right now, you probably in a position where you have achieved something or unlocked something within yourself, within the world as a whole, and it's like, yo, I can't go back. Like this is where it's at, and you trying to explain it to somebody who's a part of the culture, like they can't get it. They can't get it. You feel me? When I started day trading, when I like, culture lag is expensive. I'm gonna say that. I'm gonna get back to the topic I'm saying, but I want to interject and say that shit. Culture lag is expensive. It's so expensive that the gap is so wide that you have to pay me to make you catch up, to help you catch up with this shit. So when I started day trading and investing and actually reading charts and reading markets and shit, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people that was trying to put onto it, it was like, nah, I'm not getting into that. That's a scam. That's this, that, and the third. That's blah, blah, blah. Like in a day's time, in a 24-hour time frame, trillions of dollars are moved. How much of that are we a part of? All you keep hearing is get into the markets, but do you trade or do you invest? Should you do stocks, forex, crypto, or NFTs? My personal answer is not a single one if you don't know how to read a chart. Without knowing how to read a chart, you end up giving all your money to those who do. Do you know what a candle is? Do you know the pocket of activity? Do you know the difference between market direction and market control? If you answer no at least once, you might want to learn how to read a chart first. Learning how to read a chart will let you know if you should trade or invest and if you should do stocks, forex, crypto, and or NFTs. It will also let you know if this is even for you or not. So visit IamJustSeen.com to learn how to read charts with my Mastering the Market course, ebooks, and webinars today. The world is changing. The question is, will you adapt with it? You feel me? But there's certain things that make us, that plant within us and our culture to make us stay there. You feel me? A lot of motherfuckers can't be wealthy entrepreneurs or be wealthy business owners or whatever because they believe money is evil. And even though the book says the love of money is the root of all evil, I feel like we should change that shit up because I feel like it's the lack of money that is the root of all evil. I ain't never really seen a motherfucker actually do some reckless, evil shit because they love the money. You feel me? I've seen them do the shit because they lacked it. But that's just me. That's just me. You feel me? But because of that, that culture lag makes everybody stay. Well, money ain't everything. You can't die. You can't take it with you. You can't imagine trying to teach financial literacy to a motherfucker who doesn't give a fuck about financial literacy. The culture lag makes them say, yo, you can't take it with you. You're going to die one day, blah, blah, blah. They don't take it seriously. You can't waste your energy on them. You dig what I'm saying? However, to the other side of that, it's like you get to a point where you're like, I can't put no attention into that shit. So when I look at why I created the Master the Market course, the Master Market course is set to offset the culture lag. You feel me? There's so many people's like, oh, I'm not good at math. Who said you had to be good at math? Like people have psyched themselves up to say, I can't do this because it's the culture lag. You feel me? The money's moving. All of these things are happening. You need to catch up with the times. People, I don't want to catch up with the times. I want to stay in the time I'm in right now. Like social media shows you in real time, like how quick and how fast everything transforms and evolves and nobody catches it. Like people be stuck in Mm, maybe it doesn't show how advanced it is because the algorithm shows where you're gonna stay. Are you gonna be a culture lag or are you gonna be in the culture lead? Are you gonna be somebody who can, you know what I mean? Like as somebody who happens to be, and I gotta give myself my own flowers on this. As somebody who has to be a part of a culture lead, leading a certain aspect of the culture, it's like it becomes frustrating. You feel me? Now, only the people that are ready to lead the lag are able to catch it. So when I look at So For Real, just the series as a whole, from the books to the podcast and stuff like that, most of my audience when it comes to So For Real has been women. Now it's transitioning more into the men as far as the conversations go, you know, but most of it has been women. It's hard to get to the men. So I knew my plan with that is like, fuck the men, target the women, because the men gonna follow what the women do anyway, and the women gonna plant the seed in the men that involve themselves in their spaces. And because a part of that part, we can lag in that culture. Women no longer want to lag in the culture of misogyny or falsified masculinity and shit like that. Like so, women are more apt to learn about it to say, okay, bam, and it's like okay, they're gonna have sons. But the older, my masculine good, my masculine good. I don't need anything. I'm straight. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. Like no, you don't even understand what it is. Like I tell them like, yo, define masculinity for me. There's such a fucking culture lag right now. There's no definition for masculinity. Ask any man, you feel me, for a concrete definition of masculinity and how to, what I'm saying, apply it. They'll give you a whole bunch of descriptions, a whole bunch of ideas of what they think it is. See, that's the thing. When it comes to a culture, there cannot be any ambiguity about concrete shit. Again, masculine principles. You feel what I'm saying? But that culture lag is like, I can continue to let the culture lag because shit don't affect me. You feel me? I have no desire to lead the culture. This is why black women are the most educated. That's why women are right now the highest entrepreneurs right now. The culture lag is so wide that they're like, yo, fuck, like the lagging culture affects black women more than anything. You feel me? So if you identify it, you got to be able to see something. So it's like this is one of the reasons why I tell people like I do everything for my great granddaughter to show how far ahead I want to push this culture, and I know that I have to prepare for this culture. It's like yo, because by the time y'all catch up, it's, it's like I don't want the gap to continue that far. So it's like they be thinking people are ahead of the time. They're not. They're right on time. They're on time with the time they're supposed to be on. And that's one of the things that keeps it because we don't want to leave anybody behind. You feel me? But you can it's the culture lag. You can't control that shit. The only thing you can control is how the culture lag will continue to affect you. You dig what I'm saying? And we continue to let the culture lag affect us because it's like there's a fear of getting better. There's a fear of growth. You know what I'm saying? There's a fear that everything is hard. It has to be extra difficult. Like literally, we grew up as kids here, and if you black, you got to work twice as hard to get half as much. Don't nobody want to hear that shit. As somebody who now works half as much, and you know what I'm saying, it's like, why was I told this all my life? You feel me? Why the fuck was I told this all my life? You feel me? That it's supposed to be hard. Nah, like shit get easy. And then it's like when you start self-sabotaging shit because you don't know the full dynamic and the full scope of what it is that you're supposed to be doing, shit goes left. Shit goes fucking left. But it's heavily rooted and heavily found, like I said, within the conceptualization of the culture lag. The lagging culture is so crazy because it's like our shit just gets recycled and repackaged in a new way. The culture lags so much that people don't like. This is why it's like it's so hard at watching the transition of all the new age shit that's coming in. Like on top of that, we're in the Aquarian age. Like the Piscean age is that was the age of the religion. Pisces is the sign of belief. Like we were in the age of Pisces. That's why I was there for 2,000 years. Shit's dead and done right now. It's like this is why can't nobody believe shit. But this is why the lagging culture is gonna remain. Because somebody has to lag, somebody has to lead. They create the system this way because it's profitable. The bigger, like I said, the bigger the gap is between the lag and the lead, the more money I can make off of you. Dead ass. Like, think about investing. Think about day trading and shit. Like, think about that shit, right? That shit ain't new. That shit ain't new. Motherfuckers been doing it. Motherfucker. Day trading itself was created by rice traders. You feel me? Like if you understand a candle, right? So a candle is basically the open, the close, shows the highs, the lows. Like it's a whole system between within the candle that the rice trader developed. He's like, man, I got to keep track of this shit, but I can't count each individual transaction. So he created a candle based off of time pockets, like the hour, the 60-minute, whatever the case may be. And it's like at this for let's say for the 9 o'clock hour, right? I started selling them for $50, right? The price, it wasn't enough people in, so I dropped the price down to 40 as much as possible. Then the demand, the supply came in and the demand came in. It's like, so I went up and started selling at 70, and I came down and sell at 60, and then like that was it. So the average price of where I'm selling is between 50 and $60. You know what I'm saying? This is some shit that a rice trader did a long time ago, and he kept the shit tabulated on a piece of paper. Now you can do the shit from your phone. But the shit is so fucking lagging that it's like you tell a motherfucker, "Oh no, that's a scam. I can't do it." And this is scammers fit into the lag. Scammers fit into the lag. Scammers fit into the lag because they are able to capitalize on the fact that you are lagging and they are leading in a space where they can just get in and get out. You feel what I'm saying? So like the reason why I'm saying that is because as somebody who teaches this shit, like I teach how to, trade and like people like I can't get it. I like this. That's not something that I want to do. All right, well, and I like people want to get out of the lagging part, but don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Black people got to collectively do something. Like our buying power has increased, and yet we still don't own shit. Why? What is it? And when we look at the implementations of a lot of the shit that they do, that is to sustain you in a lagging culture. You feel me? Soon as we start getting some momentum, one of us is gonna die. Like it's gonna be a national media coverage. They're gonna stir up our emotions and shit because they know how to make our cultures lag. Everybody else is a leading culture. Everybody else makes their culture lead predominantly. Ours is predominantly lagging. So much so it's like this is why I don't do business with black people. For one, it's not enough people to do black people to do business with because we can't support our own because it's a part of a lagging culture. You feel me? It's like, damn, I can't get nothing out of this. And it's like separates. And then you had jealousy, envy, all of these other things, crabs in the barrel mentality. All of that shit ties into a lagging fucking culture. You feel me? And this is all, it's like our education system. It's like certain shit that we're now taking seriously. Like, I had a conversation, you know, it was like a generational conversation. So one of my nephews was saying about how he was in school and the teacher was just like being disrespectful or whatever the case may be. And it was like, you know me, I throw little puns out every now and again. Just to hit the nerve, just to hit the nerve to show us like, yo, this is a lagging culture. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like the shit is still the same. And so I kind of made reference to like, you're not there to be like, you're there to get an education. Everybody was like, nah, 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 nah. I was like, nah, ain't that what we was told? I said, now y'all see the point. Now y'all see the point. We're sending children to school with people that don't like them, who hate them. And we know they hate them. You feel me? Like you can't be taught by a motherfucker who hates you, has a hidden agenda. I was in the fourth grade and this is my first, like I knew racism, but this is the first time I had experienced racism at such a level that it was like, nigga, you really hate me. You feel me? And this teacher, two white teachers, right? They hated the fact that I was the smartest kid in the class. I was black and I did not bend to their will and their threats. You feel me? Mind you, I'm fourth grade, so I'm like 9 or 10 years old. Nine when I first got there, 9 to 10. And this lady, she was just evil, evil. You feel me? Certain shit you don't say to kids, certain shit you don't do to kids. But I experienced racism for the first time like that, and I started to see how my peers had inferiority complexes and all of that other shit. And it's like this is a lagging culture. I became the pride of the shit. And that's the part of when you accept being ahead of your time, you become the pride of the hood, you become a pride of the culture. You get like, and that becomes a heavy burden when you're looking at it like, oh, all of this is on my back. Take that shit off and just accept the fact that you're a part of the leading culture. You're not a part of the lagging culture. You didn't choose to pick up the mantle. The mantle was already on you. The mantle was already on you, and people just chose to look at it. But you're like, so when they tell you you're ahead of a time, nah, you're here for a shift. Like you're here to try to make the culture. You're here to close the gap between the culture lag as much as possible. When you're ahead of your time, that's what it is. So when we have so many people who aren't like, and it comes with a lot of responsibility. It comes with a lot of responsibility. This is where you get the people who end up scamming because it's like, I don't give a fuck. Y'all got to catch up to where I'm at anyway. You feel me? Y'all got to catch up to where I'm at. So you don't know like how far ahead of you I am as far as the leading goes. And it's like, yo, this is why to get here, you gotta, you know what I mean? Yeah, you gotta cut that. You know what I mean? I look at people like people who have entered my space, they have caught up. You're able to keep up. You have reached into a point where you're no longer part of the culture lag. You feel me? Because I have an individual part of the culture that I have to push forward. We all do. That's our mission. Like that's our task in life. We all get an individual piece of the culture that we are quote unquote ahead of our time with, that we're supposed to be pushing forward. But we get discouraged when we start talking to motherfuckers about it. Yeah, man, because I want to do that. That's hard. That's this, that, and the third. You're a culture lagger, bro. You lag in the culture, man. I ain't got no conversation for you. And that's another thing. We be trying to collaborate with people who are lagging in the culture. I know so many friends, and it's like, and I fell victim to it too, because a part of this is like it comes an ego. It becomes ego because it's easier to talk to. I don't know if y'all ever heard me say it, but I was like, it's lonely at the top when you're scared to befriend your equals. When you are a person who is a part of the leading culture, but you're succumbed to the reality of a lagging culture, you don't know where your equals are. Even people that be supposedly in, you find out, nah, you ain't really one of them. You just here. You feel me? So you know that you have a mission to push it forward. You know you have a mission to grow and develop shit, but you're involving yourself with motherfuckers who don't want to do it. You feel me? You feel me? Like I know so many dudes who would say, "Yo, I want to have a debate with you about masculinity." I want like, "Yo, you can't, bro. You can't fuck with me, bro. Like, what's your definition of masculinity?" Off rip, if you don't have a solid definition, it doesn't have to be my definition, but if you don't have a solid definition, I'm gonna bust your ass in the shit. I'm gonna show you the degrees of separation and how far there is between the lag and the lead right now. And that's one of the problems right there because it's hard to see that dynamic of the lead and the lag. Cause we be thinking because we in the same spot, we work together and shit like that. Nah, bro. You're ahead of your time for whatever you're ahead of your time for. Because you're tasked with bringing the culture up to speed. Yeah, it just gets different. You know how many motherfuckers have dropped the ball on their mission? The gap of the gap of the lag is indicative of how many motherfuckers give up and drop the ball on the fact that they were ahead of it. You know how easy it is to get psyched out? You feel me? I've had people tell me like in my day starting shit, they was like, yo, everything ain't gotta be like this. Yo, you think you know like you gonna do I get it. I don't know everything. I never claim to. I just know what the fuck I be talking about. You feel what I'm saying? But in those beginning stages, this shit can be very discouraging because it's like you feeling like, damn, I know that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I know that I feel like I should be doing this, but it's like it's a defeated mind. Like we be letting motherfuckers who lag in life get us down. And that's one of the hardest realities too, because you don't know who's really lagging because we work together. You know what I'm saying? They making this money. They're like, yo, what is like, how are they producing life? You know, if a motherfucker's lagging when they start repeating the same year of life. Imagine how far the culture has to lag when you work 40 years and you live the same life. Think about it. Think about it. And it becomes so uncomfortable that people know like every 3 years it's time to get a new job or you got to give me a promotion. If you there for 40 years, like every 3 years, you're like, or you gonna get that itch where you gotta go. Do you know why? Because you're now in a space where the lag is too far. You feel me? Where it's no longer something that you can watch or something you can pay attention to. If you watch the TV show right now, right? And the lag of the words and the lag between the mouth and the words was like zero point 0.3 milliseconds. You barely can catch it. You continue to watch the show because it doesn't bother you. But when the shit starts to increase wider and wider and wider, and the shit is like 3 minutes apart, you stop the fucking movie, do you not? What do you think happens with a culture lag? We know that, yo, I can't, like, I'm lagging, I'm stuck. I'm stuck. This is why it's like you have people that are 40 and 50 years old that cannot develop. Like, it's like you have the elders, the older people who will be like, yo, they can keep up with technology. And you have the other ones who can't. The ones who can keep up with technology have accepted, the cultural lead. The ones who can't have accepted the cultural lag. So they do all of this talking shit like, okay, I'm there, but then it's like when it's time to show and prove, you gotta be there. It's like, well, I'm not good with these things. You far better than me. Like, no, that shows right there that you want to remain in the lag and you don't want to grow yourself. And that's where the problem comes in, because when you feel like you're ahead of your time, you feel like you're not tasked with helping everybody. Let me say that right now. We get in this space and think, I got to help the world. No, you need to help the people who are a part of the cultural lead, not the lag. The lag has to die off. I'm sorry, it's fucked up, but you cannot. The cultural lag does not push the culture forward. It just don't. You feel me? We give people so much emphasis on certain shit that keeps us bound that we think is good because, like I said, there's a difference between gaining knowledge and reaffirming belief, but they feel the exact same. Culture lag is heavily predicated upon reaffirming your belief. You feel me? And sometimes you can be exposed to something that's so out of your reach, you think that's the top, when really it's just the floor of a new ceiling. Well, floor of a new building that leads to a new ceiling. You feel me? Imagine that, yeah. Imagine remaining in a cultural lag. And you don't know that you're in a cultural lag until you accept that. You feel me? Until you accept that the the full gamut of everything is stuck, that's the only way you're gonna acknowledge there's a culture lag. Some motherfuckers really can't see that shit. Some motherfuckers really can't see how stuck and how far. Like, it's like we know we in a. It's like, yo, we'll say shit like it's 2022 and black people are still like culture lag. People say it's 2022 and black people are just now getting the quote unquote permission to be able to wear their hair how they want to in public and shit. Like, that's what happens when you assimilate into a culture that wasn't yours. They're supposed to lag you. They lag the fuck out of you. So now we have issue with it. Like, yo, black women should be embracing their natural hair now. Like, it's not something that you should have to work for. Like, they should automatically be embracing their natural hair. No, nigga, that's a culture lag. And even liking your hair, there's motherfuckers alive right now that still look and they'll tell that, like, I've seen it with my own eyes. The generation of elders who have talked to the younger generation who have said, you need to do something with that nappy ass hair. That hair is this, like this. Come on, bro. That's the culture lag. Culture don't push forward. How you gonna have self-love when you grow up in a space that teaches you to hate yourself? We still operate from a cultural lag of self-hatred. Like, it's hard to get out of that shit. You feel me? So we choose to stay there. We choose to find a way to remain there. And it's like, how are we going to make it better than what it is? Everybody, here's another piece. Everybody doesn't want to get out of the culture lag. This ties back in. I kind of missed the point when I was talking about it the first time, but this ties back into the Master in the Market course. This is like, I created, like, I'm on to the next one now. I've already learned and established and solidified more shit about the markets and everything than I can even fathom. It's like, but there's still people lagging that haven't even caught up to where I started from. So I have to give them that. And then it's like the people that's like, I want to learn how to do this. I want to learn how to do this. But they really don't. They want you to do it for them. The lagging mentality, the lagging mentality is an impoverished mentality. The lagging mentality is a mentality of helplessness. You really believe that there's nothing that you can do to change your reality. The leading mentality is like, yo, I'm gonna push all of this shit forward. And it's derived in who dwells on the past, who dwells on the present, and who can see into the future and decide to create it. You feel what I'm saying? Because we have the propensity to do it all. But we get stuck in the cultural lag. We get stuck in the culture lag because of the culture, because of the upbringing, because of everything that's. You can't challenge it. This is why I'm like, we all face a moment. In So Frail 3, I talk about the two moments when we have like midlife crises. You feel me? The first time is when we have our rebellious teenage stage, and then we have the actual midlife crisis when we get older and shit. Both of those moments are when the cultural lag has gone too far and knew we were supposed to be way ahead. And now you playing catch up. How many times have you been in a situation and it's like you just been so off and you know you off, and now you feel like you got to play catch up because you're like, I'm too far behind. Like you innately feel like you too far behind something because you knew you were supposed to be farther ahead. It's the culture lag. Some people just settle into it. Some people just get comfortable with it and say, you know what? Fuck it. I can't change it. It is what it is. I can't do nothing more than blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bruh, there's more than life than that. We got to break the culture lag. You feel me? The shit that like, you feel me? That's why, I toot my horn on this shit. Like, you feel me? My ancestors couldn't read or write. Some of I'm not, no, wait, let me run that back. Cause I see how the culture lag works. I'm perpetuation emotion. Oh, our ancestors couldn't read and write. No, nigga, our ancestors could read and write. There was a portion of our ancestors who was interrupted in that shit during slavery. We got our ancestors wrote hieroglyphics. They set monuments like they could read and write. But you see how it sets into the culture lag? Our ancestors couldn't read and write. So for me to say I write books and read fluently, you feel what I'm saying? It's like, oh, that's a part of, but now when you look back at the actual culture of it all, it's like, what does the history have to perpetuate? Oh, we couldn't read, we couldn't talk good, we couldn't do all these things. Now I can articulate my words and I can read. I graduated from high school, whatever. It's all an accomplishment and shit, but it's still a culture lag. There's still gonna be a culture lag in that because it's like in catching up, to that, there's so much time already gone. There's so much shit that we're actually missing right now that we're not tapping into because we can't. The lag is so heavy, why move? Because like now we're gonna tie this into momentum and shit. In order to break the culture lag, you have to overcome inertia. You know how hard it is to overcome inertia on something that has been sitting for a long time that is heavy? The culture lag just get when the gap gets wider and wider, the culture lag, quote unquote, gets heavier and heavier. It's harder to push. You leave that shit the fuck alone. I'm not pulling this motherfucker. I can't get it caught up. It has to get caught up on its own, and it won't. You feel me? This is why everything that is heavily in the black people's psyche is about keeping us stuck in a mentality. The culture lag is keeping us stuck in the mentality of oppression and regression. 5 steps forward, 3 steps. Like we programmed to believe that shit. It's like I'm taking 5 steps forward and 3 steps back. So what are you doing to make you take 5 steps forward and 3 steps back? Why can't you just take your 5 steps forward? Feel like you have to take your 3 steps back. Culture lag. You have to like, yo, you gotta go back. You gotta go back. Like, you feel me? You gotta stay there. So many people think that they're supposed to stay in this situation. You feel what I'm saying? Not many black families, they're not teaching their kids to go to school they're teaching their kids to go to school to get a good job. They're not teaching anybody to make good new jobs. They're not teaching that shit. They're not supporting, they're not putting that shit out. You feel me? It's like because the white man won't let you have anything. No, who the fuck says that shit? Like, yo, that's a culture lag. My pops says that shit now. You feel me? Last time I talked to this man, he was like, yeah, because the white man ain't gonna let you have anything. What? Who let you? Nigga, let? Culture lag. Imagine if he was in my life raising me, how much my own culture would be lagging. The time that I was supposed to be ahead of, I would have never been ahead of it. There would be none of the shit that you see from me right now. Because the culture lag would have stayed there. I am a culture leader. I'm a cultural leader. Like there's a lot of us that are cultural leaders, and people be thinking a leader just a nigga in the front who's always showing like, no, 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 that's not what I mean. Cultural leaders are those people who are ahead of their time because you're tasked with closing the gap between the cultural lag. There's a heavy cultural lag in all places, but it's like it derives in a level. You have your spiritual lag, your mental lag, and then your physical lag. You feel me? When we look at everything, like when we look at soul food, look at how that shit came down. Look at the lag in that shit. Motherfuckers to this day right now know that soul food is bad for you, but it's like I just gotta have it. I know people right now that are on all kind of medications, blood pressure pills, cholesterol shit, and all of the shit. And all they have to do is change the way they eat, and they say they can't. They won't. I just gotta have that piece of fried chicken. I just gotta have this. Okay. Cultural lag. Don't waste my time. You feel me? Like that cultural lag shit is real. And that's where a lot of us are dealing with. And it's like, it goes back. The more deeper it is, like the physical culture lag, I say the physical culture lag probably runs about 10 years. You feel me? The aesthetic pill, the things that we wear and shit like that, things that we carry ourselves and shit. It's like once we get out of that 18 to 25 pocket when we're the influencers and shit of the world, because that's what they, put as the society. They do that for a reason. Because those are the ages in which you should be your sharpest so you can produce children at that point in time where you're like, you know what I'm saying? But we're not in that space right now because of culture lag. But when the culture designs itself that way, it makes like that pocket for the physical about 10 years. It's like a 10-year lag in those who make it happen and those who watch what happen. You feel me? There's about a 10-year gap. So by the time a motherfucker actually catches up, it's like too late. This is why Bitcoin boomed. You feel me? The culture lag, the culture, and you see how now when I talk about now we can talk about the investing and shit because when we talk about how the cultural gap, how the cultural lag is so profitable because it's like by the time you catch up, I'm already in it. You feel me? So when we observe things like Bitcoin, crypto, and shit like that, cultural laggers they can't see that far into the future. So if they make an investment, they're like, "Oh, it's supposed to go to the moon now." Like no, when Bitcoin hit, wait, no, Bitcoin I think it maxed out at what 60,000 or something like that. It's 2020. In 2021, it maxed out at 6,000, 60,000, right? Roughly about. But it did not start taking off until 2009. So imagine how far the lag is. You feel me? I missed that shit. I didn't know shit about Bitcoin. I didn't learn about Bitcoin until 2015. 2015, 2016. It had been popping since 2009. But the cultural lag doesn't put it in your face. Only the cultural lead does. And if you can't see it, it's like, that's a scam. That's this, that, and the third. You know how many motherfuckers have said, you feel me? Oh, that's a scam. That's wrong. That's this. And it's like, yo, damn. Those same people are saying, I wish I would have got in at this time. Cultural laggers. You feel me? But those ahead of their time, it's like shit. In the space that I'm in right now, it feels good to be able to say, I saw something that nobody else could see. And I stuck to my guns and didn't let the cultural lag get me. Because there was many times I wanted to give up and say, what's the point? Because nobody else around me can see it. Now I'm glad that I never said, what's the point? Because now when I look at certain dynamics and certain things that play themselves out, it's like, damn, bro, there's separation between us. You feel me? I can interact with cultural laggers, but show them I don't lag. You feel what I'm saying? It'd be funny, like, because I keep my shit on a very modest perspective, but at the same time, I talk my shit when I need to talk my shit. But the goal of it, the purpose is that I know that there's a whole degree of separation between people and me. And it's not in a hierarchical perspective of I'm better than them or I'm greater than them. No, I am not in the same cultural lag as they are. Do I still let? Yes, there's still things that I don't know yet that I have not even that I'm still catching up to. So in that regard, you know what I'm saying? This is why I'm always big on pushing it forward. When you reach a certain level, go to that next level and fuck with somebody who's beyond where you are. You feel me? I was just talking about it in a previous episode about I forgot which episode it was, but I was talking about how I study and it's like I study people who are like who have written material and stuff and they've studied for 40, 50 years and shit. I cut that curve. That's a whole lag. That's a 40-year lag I just cut. You dig what I mean? 40-year lag. A 40-year lag that I have just reduced between like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's different. So when I say capitalism works because people are lazy and ignorant, this is what it means. Capitalism fills the gap between the cultural lag. The longer the lag is, the more expensive the shit is. You feel me? The longer the lag, the more expensive the shit is. And people don't see that. This makes me realize that the next week's episode has to be on capitalism because if I remember to put it on capitalism, but that's it. It's the cultural lag. Like, you feel what I'm saying? We don't want to close the gap. We don't want to close the gaps. We want the gaps filled for us. But it's like, yo, you can't, nah, I'll start walking across the bridge when the bridge is built. You feel me? The motherfucker building the bridge is already on the other side. Think about that. The person who's building the bridge is already on the other side. They've already surveilled the land. They already know where they should put the bridge at the best. They already know that this is going to be a weak spot. This is not going to be a weak spot. They've already killed the cultural lag. All you're going to do is walk across the fucking bridge. As Black people, that's one of our biggest deficits. We are not willing to close this gap between the cultural that has the cultural lag in it because we can't trust the people who are ahead of their time. Because ironically, this is something that I'm observing right now. Ironically, all of the people, it's crazy as hell how this shit is playing out. Because when I look at all of the people that I fucks with, as far as marketing, as far as market shit, as far as real estate, as far as anything learning, all of them are dropouts in some way, shape, or form. All of them had quit. They have decided that the way that we were taught, as far as the cultural lag, it don't work anymore. And they adjusted. We pivoted. We all have our own little lanes that we do and shit. But it's like those who have seen farther and can lead farther, they can close a bigger gap. You feel me? So it's like it's on us to acknowledge our cultural lag, where we're lagging at, and then find somebody who can close that. You feel me? But we're in a generation where the cultural lag is so heavy that it's like we can't trust and believe motherfuckers that are ahead of their time. Like for real shit, it's hard to trust a motherfucker who's ahead of their time because it's like, I can't believe what you're saying because what you're saying doesn't make sense to me because it has not been reaffirmed. I have not heard this enough that may allow me to stay in my condition right now. You feel what I mean? That shit's powerful. That shit's powerful as hell. You feel me? As somebody who's been put in that position, there's like, damn, I'm a cultural leader. I'm tasked with closing a gap of something. We all are. Some people just don't accept it. Some people say, you know what? I don't want to be a cultural leader, even despite the fact that I have all of the resources, all of the skills, the talents, and I was given this task to do. I'm gonna stick with the laggers. Big fish in a small pond. There's so many different euphemisms we can label this shit with. I ain't gonna say euphemisms because that's a good euphemisms are good things, but these are all bad. There's so many different ways in which we can label this shit, but it still derives to the same principle that it's the lagging culture. The big fish in a small pond. That motherfucker's like, I'm not going forward because now you have to be the small fish in the ocean. Nobody wants to get through that uneasy phase. You feel me? Nobody wants to get to that point. And it's like people are, oh, that's like, no, you have to pay me for the time it took for me to do the shit that you wouldn't do. Like when I look at trading and investing and shit, people are like, why your course costs so much? Cuz, nigga. Cuz. This is how much it costs to close this cultural gap. Simple. Ain't no ifs, ands, and maybes about it. I don't give a fuck. Like, this is how much it costs for me to close this cultural gap for you. You feel me? This is how much it's gonna cost. Like, either you're gonna pay it or you're not, or you're gonna continue to let the culture gap. Oh, I want to learn how to read a chart. I learn how to do this, but I just can't because it's too hard. Why? You're a part of a lagging culture that feels like it's too hard. It's not. It's not. It's what you choose to challenge yourself for. Only the people that's willing to challenge themselves nowadays are the people who are a part of the leading culture, those who are ahead of their time. And it's like, to be ahead of your time is not no mystical shit. Like people think, oh, that person's ahead of time. They just real smart. They this, that, and the third. Nah, to be ahead of your time means that you are tasked with making sure whatever you're supposed to be doing in this world, you're a pioneer for it. And the plot twist to that is that you're ahead of your time in whatever the fuck you choose to be ahead of your time with. And don't forget to check out Pala Cafe Clothing, formerly Just Scenes merch, Get all of your intricate designs crafted specifically for the melanated being to develop a positive imagery within self and to have a little bit of fun in the process. From the peace, love, knowledge, and freedom to the dead horses and water designs, all the styles are crafted for the imagery to make you feel as you're supposed to feel. Because as I always say, the best way to fit in is to stand out. And what better way to stand out than with your exclusive styles from Paula Cafe Clothing? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. And I'm ending it on that note because people be like, yo, what's my purpose? What's my passion and all this shit? And I talk about it a lot too. I'm like, your purpose is found on the other side of your pain. When you heal your pain, you find your purpose. This is why I say your purpose can be whatever the fuck it wants to be. What hurt you in this world? What do you have to heal from? You can make that, you can purposefully, like people think purpose is like, that's the one thing you got. You only have one thing you got to do in this world. No, anything you healed from and you could teach somebody else how to overcome that pain. That's what life is about. Life gives us pain for a reason. Joy and pain are the only two emotions we have. I talk about this in So Frail. Everything else is a feeling. Joy is an emotion predicated by trauma, by euphoria. Pain is an emotion predicated by euphoria. I mean, trauma. I don't know why I said those shits backwards. But the feelings that we have, the good feelings and the bad feelings, are what predicates whether we will have euphoria, whether something will elicit a euphoria out of us, or whether something will elicit trauma out of us, and then it solidifies whether it's going to be joy or pain. When you when you heal your pain, whatever hurt you, you can now transition that and overcome that to be something that you can create joy with. You feel me? Poverty was one of my pains. You feel me? Never having money was one of my pains. You feel me? Yeah, I got a job and I worked and shit like that, but it's like that didn't take away the fact that I always feel like I gotta hustle. I always feel like I gotta have money because poverty is painful. That was one of my pieces of, you know, I gotta heal the pain of poverty. Poverty is not just being broke. Poverty is eternal. Poverty is like wealth. It is the opposite side of wealth. Poverty doesn't go anywhere. Just like when we love to talk about how when we solidify wealth, it's like it's there permanently. Poverty has been solidified permanently for us. You don't just get a job and oh, I'm making 33,000, I'm making 50,000 a year. You are still in poverty. Poverty is something that you have to actively work towards to completely eradicate. Poverty is painful and it's permanent. It has a I ain't gonna say it's permanent. It has a solid permeation that stays where it is if you stay in that situation. If you stay in a lagging culture that is tied to the poverty, you will remain in poverty. I don't give a fuck how much money you get. I don't give a fuck how good your job is. It does not change the fact that you are in poverty. You feel me? I had to heal that shit, which means I had to change my perspective of money. I had to change my dynamic. I used to be heavy on the love of money is the root of all evil. And you feel me? Money don't make a nigga change. It's just, you feel me? You start to get crazy. It's like we hold on to narratives like that. You feel me? One of the biggest ones is in the religion and from the Bible spread. It said, what good is a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? I remember when I was young hearing that Kurt Franklin, I'd rather have Jesus than silver and gold. Fuck no. Fuck no. That's not enough. That's not enough. If you feel like that, cool. By all means, do what you do. But a part of the culture lag is already showed. We haven't. All we had was Jesus. We ain't got shit. We might need some silver and gold. You feel me? But like I was saying, that programs into the reality because I programmed like that was something I had to heal from. You know how hard it was to take money and keep it and grow it? It's like, nah, blow it. You can't take it with you. Money is the root of all evil. It's like, no, I used to hear that quote. Well, what's the world? I asked this religious person because I started doing day trading and investing and shit. I was like, yo, you can make so much money and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you feel me? Because again, I'm on my spiritual tip. You feel me? So when people think I tell them I don't believe in shit, but like I say, it's because I understand shit. Like motherfuckers just never get that. The lagging culture is a group of believers and shit. But whatever. So motherfucker says, yo, what does it mean for a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? I looked them dead in their motherfucking soul and said, you tell me what good is it for a man to gain the whole world and keep it? That's reality? Yes, that's a fucking reality. Like, why do you automatically assume, Jay-Z got a line, he was like, the devil want these niggas hate their own kind. Gotta beat Illuminati if a nigga shine. The moment a black person achieves wealth, it's like, oh, you're evil. You're this. Like, they can't. Black people, our culture lag, one of our culture lags as far as poverty is we view prosperity as evil. Think about that. That's crazy as fuck to internalize that. To be prosperous is to be evil. You feel me? But that was one of the things that I had to mentally break out of. I had to go through I was like, yo, bro, like money ain't bad. Money is an energy. When I learned that money is an energy that I can use to manipulate, it changed my perspective for it. Now people like, yo, so you gonna make all this money for what? To show other motherfuckers how to get out? Like poverty for me, I wanted to reach a point where poverty is a choice. If I ever go back to poverty, it's because I chose to, not because I have to, not because, I'm a part of this culture. Like, no, that was something I had to heal from. Your purpose is on the other side of your pain. When I healed from that shit, healed from being raised in poverty and shit, it changed my financial literacy. It changed how I look at things. So now I teach it. My purpose is on the other side of my pain. It's like, yo, I purposely can tell you how to get some money in the markets. You dig what I mean? So frail. My pain was, motherfucker, I ain't had no father. I ain't know how to become a man, so I had to become a man on my own. I had to become a masculine man on my own. For real, for real. Not just manly. I had to become masculine, which is something that was hard. Even now, there's still so many different degrees of separation because it's like I like a lot of the way in which my imagery is like, it's like, motherfucker, you know what I mean? Like, what makes you masculine? Everything. Everything, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Motherfuckers, I want to debate your masculinity. And that's how I know I'm gonna bust your ass. I'm gonna fuck you up. Because I'm gonna debate you. I'm gonna debate masculinity with the masculine essence. I'm gonna kick your motherfucking ass. Because I already know where you debating from. You want to argue with, catty argumentative shit. So frail too, toxic. Like, these are things that I had to experience that I knew. It's like, man, I ain't no catty argumentative motherfucker. Like, I ain't about to be arguing with women, but I got to points where I used to do shit like that. You feel me? Because I understood a mentality. I understood the culture and I understood what it was. And I said, we lagging, bro. We gotta tighten up. You feel me? Everybody don't want to get up there. But like I was saying, so tighten that back in so we can wrap it up. Your purpose is on the other side of your pain. You feel what I'm saying? So you can be ahead of your time with it, whatever you choose to be ahead of your time with. You feel me? Whatever you feel you need to use in the culture to close the gap, that's it. That's one of the craziest things. People be like, yo, what's your purpose in this world? What's your gift? Everybody has one gift. The gift is life. That's it. The gift is life, and you do whatever you want to do with it. Like when I tell people, like, I know I've had conversations where I talk about it. It's like, I have the gift of oration, which is speech. I have the gift of writing. You feel me? I have the gift of thought. Um, I have the gift of I have so many different gifts, and people are like, yo, why are you good at so much? I'm like, because I got the gift of life. When I realized and I tapped into the gift of life, it made the rest of the gifts easier to use. And then start to use together. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, for example, if I do a jam session right now, I'm bringing my gift of music because I produce music and shit. I make beats and shit. Like, I'm really nice with it. I write, rap. That's the gift of oration. I get the writing. Like, I just merge the shit. You feel me? I have so many different gifts and it's like, oh, it's not that I'm gifted. I have life, and I tapped into the fact that I got the gift of life. I don't respond to the culture lag anymore, and it's like, yo, you can do whatever you want to do. Hence, just saying, it's like I want people to realize, like, there's so many people thinking, you got this one thing that you got to do with yourself. No, you don't. You can do it however many things you want to do in this world, whatever you want to do in this world, however you want to do it. You got to accept that the gift that you've been given is life. You feel me? It's not to be a thinker. It's not to be a warrior. It's not, those are just extensions of the gift of life that you have when you choose to use your gift. You can be gifted in whatever you want to do. That's why I tell people a genius is not a person. It's not a smart motherfucker. Genius is something that you have, that you tap into and you access. When you tie your genius, because your genius is your creative energy, when you tie your genius to your your gift, which is the gift of life, now you can use it however you want to use it. You close the gaps of the culture. Some of us want to close the gaps, but don't want that responsibility. It's like, see, I be trying to teach y'all, but see, y'all don't want that shit because you don't want. In closing the gap, some people have this mentality where if they close the gap, other people can feed off of them. Or, what I'm saying, they'll lose their position. That's still a lagging mentality. That's the scammers. Those are the people. I ain't gonna say you scamming if you do shit like that, but those are the people who like, I don't want anybody to get where I'm at. But I want to keep them like a couple steps behind me. Come here, like, nah, I want you all the way up here with me. Fuck with me. Come up here. But I'm gonna show you how I can use it with any aspect that I'm in. So the moment you start healing, when you heal from your first trauma, when you heal from your biggest trauma and shit, I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. When you heal from your biggest trauma, it's gonna open you up to understand that you can heal from any trauma, and any trauma that you heal from, you can transition into something that's purposeful in your life. You feel me? A lot of us are afraid to heal because it causes us to not be purposeful in this world anymore, but then it takes off the accountability and responsibility we have to have as people. You feel me? I want everybody to be able to be their comfortable selves and shit. So that's a part of the gap that I got to close. There's things that I have to purposely do to show people that this is how, like, there's a whole huge gap that has to be closed culturally. For people who want to be themselves, believe, like, there's a lot of shit that I had to go through to say, okay, bam, I healed from this shit. So now let me give my gift of life. And now I can choose how I want my gift. Like, my gift of life can show up in oration. My gift of life can show up in these things. When you break down the barriers and realize that you can pretty much be ahead of your time when you want to, or you could choose a lag if you choose to. You feel me? It's not one thing bestowed on a motherfucker. You get the gift of life every day you wake up. You feel me? But we succumb to things like, God's will or different things like that. Like, yo, if you Allah's will, whatever, whoever's will created you, they created you. What you think they created you for? Like, really? Like, you really think you're created to be here and just not contribute to the motherfucking progress of the world? Yeah, okay. Okay. Good luck with that, buddy. You feel me? But that's a part of where we are. You feel me? That's a part of where we are. And that's a part of what I feel we got to get rid of as far as mentality goes when it comes to the culture. Because the culture lags too far, especially in our culture and shit. Again, let me give my disclaimer. This is not to say give up your religion. This is not to say give up your degree. This is not to say anything. It's like understand everything and just close the culture gap. You feel me? One thing that I'm big on is telling people understand your religion. I never tell people to give it up. I never tell people to walk away from it. I never tell people, oh, it's the white man shit, get that shit back. No, understand it and make a choice. I did. You feel me? That's why I still know the shit like the back of my hand. And they'd be like, yo, how can you know it so well and still not? Because I'm not a part of the culture lag. I'm a part of the culture lead. You feel me? It's different. It's levels. It's levels to the shit. You feel me? We can get here. Like, I can show you how to get here, but you're not gonna want it. You're not gonna be the same after this. Feel me? That's one of my biggest worries with people as a whole. It's like, you get here, now what? You feel me? So you got to pick your pockets and choose what it is. Like, a lot of this shit goes hand in hand as it's supposed to. So it's like, what you gonna do? How I task you right now to figure out how the fuck you are going to close whatever cultural gap is that you're responsible for. You know what you ahead of your time with. You know what shit you naturally good at. You know what shit that is just that's your shit. It's like, yo, can't nobody fuck with you. You know what's yours. Now, you need to master that shit so you can close the gap for your culture. This is where another part of the problematic piece comes in because don't nobody want to do shit for the culture. See, black people ain't gonna do this. They broke. They ain't got like no. Just like no. Everybody wants to learn. Everybody wants to be in that space, but it's just not there right now. So it's in how are you going to express this? What are you gonna do to put this shit down the best possible way? Because that's what it's about. You feel me? You need to close the cultural gap. Yes, you motherfucker. You. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, you. You need to close the cultural gap because there's something right now that you're ahead of your time with. And I don't want to come off and say, well, it could be big or small. No. It doesn't matter if it's big or small because there's no such thing as the magnitude off the other side. Like we come into this realm, everything has significance equally. Everything has significance equally, and we overlook that shit sometimes with magnitude and shit. There's something right now that you're ahead of your time with. There's something right now that you're that good at or that you're that perfect with. And you know, you need to figure out how you need to use that, how you are supposed to use that to close the gap for your culture. You feel me? You need to figure out how you need to use that to close the gap for your culture. Off the other side of that, you feel me? You can pick whatever it is that you want to do. Now, you got to be dedicated to the shit. So the shit that's not naturally something that you're naturally good at or something that you have the affinity for already, you have to discipline yourself to do it. You feel me? I didn't have to discipline myself to write in books because I was a writer. You know, I didn't have to discipline myself to do a podcast because I'm a talker. I'm a, to get the oration and shit. I don't have to force myself or, what I'm saying, to get into a space to study because I like learning. I like, what I'm saying? But I will say I had to put myself in a position mentally to be able to be ahead of my time with trading and investing. That was something that is like it didn't come natural. It didn't come natural. And that's what I want people to understand. Like certain shit just ain't going like yo shit, your divine gift, it ain't always gonna come natural to you. You feel me? What you supposed to be here to use to close the cultural gap, it ain't gonna be natural to you all the time. You feel me? But when you see, but it's easier to naturalize when you realize that you're healing something within yourself. You feel me? Mastering the market came about because I didn't want to be in poverty anymore. And I knew that there was a way that you can always make money. You feel me? Because money was always going to move. And I found that way and I tapped into it. That's it. And now I give it back to the people. It's like, yo, let's close this gap. Because I'm not the only person who feels like that. Poverty is painful and it fucked a lot of us up. You feel me? If I would have went to college and shit and had my, I would have been able to take my refund checks and put them in the market and make some motherfucking money. I didn't know any of this shit. I didn't know any of this shit. And I don't mean money for the long run. I mean, like, shit, before that semester's up, I'm banking, I'm flipping that refund check and paying you motherfuckers back. But I didn't know any of that. I didn't know any of that. So that's where I'm at. And this is what I want people to understand. Like, that's where the cultural gap is. You have to close that shit. Whatever it is that you're gifted with, yeah, whatever it is. And like I said, you're gifted with life. Your life is supposed to close the cultural gap. You just have to figure out the best way that you can do it or which way you want to do it. And you can do it one way, you can do it all ways, or you can do it no way at all. But that's what you're here for. So go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And let's make sure as early as possible we start setting the tone to close the gap, the cultural gap between the babies and us. Like we don't want to get that part. Like, because it's a repeated cycle, yo. The baby boomers are like, you feel me? They were supposed to set the tone for where our culture is supposed to be right now. And this is where it is. So now it's like we were supposed to be forward. This is why we have an issue with the baby boomers and shit because of the shit that they do. But let's not leave that for our babies. Let's please not leave that for our babies. Let's make sure our babies are able to thoroughly learn shit, tap into their purpose, and start to live. See what your child is ahead of their time with. And watch how they close the cultural gap when they start to tap in. You feel me? Because it's time, like the future, the children are the future, for real. But the future is derivative. It's dependent upon how well we can close this culture gap and the culture lag, which means that we have to tap in and be aware of those people who are ahead of their time. So plant the seed in your babies. I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. So go kiss your babies. Make sure they eat their vegetables. And I'm gonna see y'all on the next one. Peace, love, knowledge, and freedom. I'm out.